actively going live, preparing to live stream the meeting. So setting up your meeting for Facebook Live. I don't know what any of that means, but we'll see what happens in just a second. It looks like we're up and we're live. Fantastic. Hey, everyone. So nice to see you again. It is Thursday afternoon, and Dr. Alex and I are jumping on to chat with you today about some insects and remedies and different ways of dealing with things like fleas and all the other things that like to bite us this time of year, especially this time of year. So, Dr. Alex, if you'd like to say hi.
Hello, everyone. I hope you have some questions for us. If you cannot join live, but come on the comments and just watch the video. And if you still have some questions, please put them on the comments. And yes, here we go. So we're gonna speak about insect bites, and most commonly mosquito, fleas, bed bugs, bees, wasps, spiders, yeah, even scorpions, this is an insect, centipedes, and fire ants. Oh, and of course, how could I forget with the horses, horse flies, which can be really a nuisance and a pain to the poor horses and to us as well, because I've been bitten many times when I'm riding, and instead of the fly lying on the horse, which I kept every time I'm riding, you know, I don't even have control of my reins. I don't care. My reins are kind of slack, and I'm bashing the flies all around the neck of the horse because on the back they swish their tails and they get rid of them, but in the front usually, you know, poor things, they cannot. So yeah,
I know
it's pain.
They are relentless here. And we also have deer flies in our area. And of course, you know, we have a lot of deer around our farm. And they show up in the morning looking for snacks. And these poor things, they've got them lined up down their nose. And there's nothing they can do to get them off. And I always feel so bad. I'm like, come over here and I'll hit them. Come on. And the deer are like, no, we're good. We're good. But it never occurred to me that maybe I could put something in their food, or, you know, not that I'm going to be able to get close enough to spray the deer the way that you do with the horses. But yeah, there are just so many insects. It's crazy. Walking into the barn right now, overwhelmed with flies. And I still haven't done your trick. So tell everybody your trick about flies in the barn, because it's a really good one.
Okay, so in the barns, what it really worked for me while I was living in Greece, because of course, you know, the summers are hot and the flies explode. The garlic, hanging garlic on the flies, no, doesn't do anything really. But what really works is to pick up lemons and stud them with cloves and just put them in the corners of the barn. I think lemons, 1 or 2 lemons in each corner of the barn, and they kind of last at least for a week and then you replace them. It works really well. And when I'm riding on the horse, some lemon, essential oil of lemon and cloves as well kind of works with the flies, at least keep spray. But of course it needs, you know, you just spray the horse or you rubbed it in the horse when before riding, or of course if it is a horse that is some horses, you know, they really suffer from flies, then I pick up a scarf like on the part of the halter and just put the essential oils.
On that, just to give them a little bit of relief. And
Yeah.
I have a question about the lemons. So when you talk about putting cloves into citrus, it makes me think of the old time they used to take oranges and put cloves in them and let them dry, and they'd hang them on the Christmas tree. But my question for you is, with the lemons, do you cut them in half and put the cloves just on the outside, or do you keep the lemon whole and cover them in cloves? How do you do that?
I keep the lemon whole.
Okay.
Because if you cut them in half with the heat, they get moldy very quickly.
Okay.
Although the cloves, I have to say, for some reason, kind of preserves them, helps. It keeps a little bit the mold away, but they will last more if you just stir them with cloves all around and you keep them whole.
Okay,
Because
fantastic.
it's
Thank you.
essential oil in the skin, not so much juice.
Not so much in the fruit itself. Yeah. Okay. Yeah, that definitely makes sense. And so one of the things that I did want to say before we went down the road of all the things that we get bit by and what to use when we do is Dr. Alex and I are about to finish our August newsletter, and it will have an outline of a bunch of these remedies and the insects that bite us and what to expect and how to address it. So keep your eyes open for the newsletter in the next day or two. And wanted to start with a question that actually came up today, and I had responded to this woman. I was super grateful that she had posted it. She asked about, I think it was Charlotte Hoyle. She asked about what to do for fleas, and she's got a visiting dog. I'm not sure how she's treated her dog in the past. Maybe she's just gotten into a place where there are no fleas in the house, but her visiting dog has brought fleas to her place, and she's being bit. She's seeing the other dog that had been treated chemically be bit, and so she's looking for some homeopathic suggestions around that. And we have homeopathic and we have some other practical solutions as well. So I'm going to turn it over to Alex, and she can talk about the remedies.
So, yeah, fleas, practical measures, which usually works best because homeopathy, I really like to use homeopathy when we have symptoms and we can apply the law of similars. Only in very severe circumstances, I would do prophylaxis for fleas homeopathically. So practical measures. The main things for fleas are lemongrass essential oil, and diatomaceous earth, at least in my experience. And that's what I use, I would say 95% of the times. So when the flea season starts, basically spring and summer, the same way we talk for the horses, I do for the dogs. I put a few drops of lemongrass, and if you have a available lemongrass and geranium oil, and on their collars. And I do it overnight because it's quite potent. And then next day I put the collars and they can go for walks. And at the moment I'm in Ireland and I'm surrounded by cows and sheep and deer, and usually we never have any problems. So it really works well. If there is a tick infestation, or like in Greece, I was working with rescues and cats and dogs that I would come covered in fleas, diatomaceous earth. So the lemongrass and the geranium are wonderful if they do not have fleas and you want to prevent the fleas. Mm-hmm. If they come infested with fleas, you don't want to do that, because if you have an animal covered in fleas and you bring it into your house and you do the lemongrass and the geranium, what happens is that the fleas will leave the animal, but it will go into your carpets and all the surrounding environment.
Right.
It doesn't kill it, repel.
That was one of the things I was reading today. One of the recommendations, if you're going to treat your animal with something that's going to repel, not kill, then you do it outside, because you don't want the fleas to jump off and land in the house and start to lay their eggs there.
Yeah. So if the animal is infested with fleas, what you do is you use diatomaceous earth. Diatomaceous earth is magnificent and actually kills them, kills everywhere. And the other amazing thing with diatomaceous earth is, you know, if it is a cat, it's impossible to keep them on the floor, and they will jump on sofas, they will be on pillows, they will be on blankets and spreads that you have around. And if you have carpets in the house, you know, all this is at risk. So what you do is you put the diatomaceous earth on the animal, and everywhere, it's a powder, it's a very thin powder, so it's very easy to apply, and you put it on the carpets, on all the surfaces that can be with fleas.
And I made a quick slide, and I'm just going to pull that up while you're chatting more about the diatomaceous earth so everybody can see. Just talking a little bit about this, and some people mix it with borax as well, which is another powder that you can put on things. I don't know if you've used that much, Dr. Alex, but the diatomaceous earth has a food grade, and then they have another grade, which I don't remember what it's actually called. Do you recall how they specify that, the food grade versus?
No, what basically diatomaceous earth is the exoskeleton. Exo means outside of the body. So it's the skeleton outside of the body that the algae, marine algae, have in the unicellular marine algae, which makes part of the plankton. So when these algae die, this exoskeleton is made by, it's just pure silica. So it has no chemicals, nothing that can be toxic to the organism. But the silica are almost little sharp needles, microscopic. Anything that it is an insect, it just pierces through them and dries them out.
Right.
Kills them and dries them out. Now, when you spread it, it kills the insects. It does nothing on the animal. It might, if you put tons, it can dry a little bit the skin. You need to be very careful is that you cover their eyes, or you don't put it close to their eyes or their nose, because we are talking about very small sharps, like tiny little needles that can really irritate the nose or the eyes. Apart from that, it's perfectly safe, and it kills very quickly. So you wait about an hour and a half, 2 hours, and then you brush well the animal, and it's fine to go, and you vacuum clean.
Right.
Your
And
carpet and your sofas, and again, ready to go.
They recommend doing that every couple of weeks to stay ahead of it. And the borax information that I found, they also talked about sprinkling this on carpets or floors. You would do the same thing with the diatomaceous earth, where you would work it into your carpet with a broom. Their bedding is really important. You do want to keep the animals out. If you can keep them out of the house while you're doing this, that's ideal. It gives, just to make sure that they're not breathing it in or getting it into their eyes or nose or any of the membranes, like Dr. Alex said. And with the borax, you can actually, if you're able, leave it overnight and then vacuum it out. Or if you have throw rugs or what have you, bring them outside. And it says to repeat every 2 weeks after the first application, or repeat 2 weeks after the first application, and then every few months as needed. You know, if you're seeing this, especially the spring and summer, like you were saying, Dr. Alex, when the dogs are laying in the sand or the cats are getting outside and doing the same thing, they're picking up a lot of these critters.
Yeah. The other thing is that once you do, for instance, once I was doing the diatomaceous earth, and I knew that there were no fleas around and no ticks around and no nothing, I just then use the essential oil.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't need to repeat it. I would do it again if I would bring another animal full of fleas into the house, being a cat or a dog. You know, it works very, very well. Now, the two types of diatomaceous earth is just this silica that I explained.
Mm-hmm.
Of course, what happens is that the algae die, and the exoskeleton, which is what gives the shape to the cell of the algae, drops to the bottom of the sea, and it looks like sand. And so this then is scraped and is dried, and this is diatomaceous earth. The food grade is refined to the point, you know, all the impurities are taken out, because of course if you collect them from the bottom of the sea, there it will come diatomaceous earth with other, you know, whatever it is at the moment at the bottom of the sea. So the food grade, it just means that it's just the pure exoskeleton, that's just pure silica. And there are a lot of people that take it internally, and you can give to your animals as well, mixed in their food, because it has health benefits, and is as well a good detoxifier, because it chelates. Chelation is just a scientific term of binding certain toxins in the body, and then is excreted because it's an inert mineral. So this mineral binds to toxins in the body, and then it's expelled through the feces. So a lot of people use it to detoxify the system, and animals with bone problems and other, you know, any kind of toxic load, many people use diatomaceous earth. So food grade is just a bit more expensive, but it just means that it's pure, the pure state of silica, so that you can ingest it. So if you can ingest it, you can, you know, you can put it anywhere. The other is much cheaper if you have, I don't know, stables or coops full of insect, because it works in any kind of small insect. It will kill anything. So people use it for the barns, for the chicken, and that obviously you do not need to pay for food grade, because you're not using it to swallow it. That's
right. Perfect. So let's talk about LEDUM, because that's kind of one of the magic remedies, and also the tincture can be used, the herbal tincture can be used. LEDUM is the first remedy I always think of for punctures, for puncture wounds. They say that if the site is cold and the person wants cold put on it, correct? So I have just a little snapshot of a materia medica that I pulled together today, and I want to share that with everybody, and then hopefully you can talk a little bit more about this. There it is. Thanks.
Yeah, so LEDUM is great for insect bites, and is the #1 remedy to go, because obviously an insect, when it bites, it stings, and so it's a puncture wound. And any kind of puncture wound with inserted poison acts beautifully on LEDUM, acts beautifully on the it's a keynote for this remedy. So fleas, ticks, bed bugs, lots, not insects, but stingrays. It works as well. Amazing. I've treated quite a lot of people with stingrays as well. So any kind of puncture wound where you have, or even a rusty nail, actually, it's that after the wound, after the injury, you put your hand and is not hot and doesn't feel hot and is like throbbing, LEDUM will be the first remedy to go for. Now, whatever poison it is, being a stingray or being fleas or being mosquitoes, which again, it's an amazing remedy for mosquito bites. If the person says, I feel much better with cold, so it's cold to the touch, it might look very red, don't take me wrong. It can look red, it can look angry, but when you put your hand, it is cold to the touch. And the person feels so much better when you put cold on it, LEDUM will act, because these are the main indications for LEDUM.
Perfect, thank you. And we were looking further into topical ideas. There's a homeopath who's since passed away that talked a lot about agrohomeopathy and the use of treating for insects and things of that nature. And I've heard some really fascinating deterrents where people have made remedies into a spray, and they've used it in thresholds. One person was saying that they had sprayed lacphalinum. I think we had talked about this before, lacphalinum at the doorway where mice and rats were coming into somebody's barn, and they were spraying this once a day for a week or so, and the critters stopped crossing that threshold. So one of the things that this gentleman talked about was the LEDUM tincture spray, and actually spraying your cats and dogs with the LEDUM. And that, again, is encouraged to use that outside so that your if the critters are there, you want to make sure that you're
into your house, but they
Yeah.
will run outside of your house.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So they say that you can rub it on your animal skin, and again, it's a repellent, not an insecticide. Somebody had asked about what to do with carpets and if you could use LEDUM for that. And this gentleman had said you might be able to put it into a carpet cleaning machine. You would need quite a high dilution of the tincture, which of course is typically alcohol based. And you wouldn't want to put any other shampoo with it, any scented product or what have you. You strictly want the LEDUM. And he has seen some evidence of that being really helpful, which is fantastic, because once you get fleas in the house, it's such a battle. It is such a big battle, and it's really lovely if you can find something that shifts them quickly. So Dr. Alex, do you have other remedies that you would like to talk about today with regard to insect bites and stings, and what can we apply for farm animals especially?
Well, I would like to say that the diatomaceous earth, again, it's quite important if you are used to rescue birds. That was my introduction, actually, before even the dogs and the cats. I had a very sick bird, blackbird, brought to me to feed and to take care of, and I didn't realize it was infested with tiny little mites, and I don't even know if it was fleas, but it looked like fleas and it was gross. And the nest in the box where I had it, suddenly I look and it was just steaming and zooming. The whole place was getting infested. So the diatomaceous earth worked miraculously very, very well. And the bird didn't get distressed. I didn't have to wash it or dip it in anything. Now, there are certain dogs and cats and people that are highly allergic to fleas. So even if the animal does not have any flea, but if he was just bitten once by a flea, they get an allergic reaction and they scratch like crazy and they look that they are, totally infested with fleas. In that case, if you know that the animal is allergic, I would recommend to use the nosode made, which basically a homeopathic remedy made by the flea itself called Pulex. Again, it does not kill fleas, but if you give this remedy once a week during the flea season, it will deter the fleas to get into the animal, as well as with dogs. And with horses, I also use garlic, especially in the summer, because they will sweat, and that as well will keep flies and fleas, garlic, but more when it comes through their sweat than hanging on stables or anything. That will not do much. So this is a good for bees and wasps, because homeopathy, it's not the law of what is equal, but is similar. What it is similar, I find that when people are bitten by bees, I use VESPA. I don't use Apis, because Apis is the remedy made from the venom of the bee and the bee itself, actually. And VESPA is the homeopathic remedy made from wasps. So when somebody is bitten by a bee, I give VESPA. And when somebody is bitten by a wasp, I give Apis. I'm not saying that if somebody is bitten by a bee and you give Apis, that it will not work, and and vice versa, but it works better if you give it in this it's easy to remember. If it is a bee bite, you give wasp. If it is a wasp bite, you give bee. So that works very nicely. Of course, if sometimes, especially when somebody is allergic to bees, they might have a quite exacerbated reaction. And in my clinical experience, I find that carbolic acid works very nicely when the reaction to the bee bite or to the wasp is exacerbated, or you have given like 4 or 5 doses and you don't see much improvement. Then you follow with carbolic acid. It's complementary to both remedies and it works extremely well. Usually gets rid of lingering symptoms, or if the desired remedies do not act the way we want them to. Oh, just give me a second.
One of the things that I always think about with Apis is, and I've seen this several times, where someone will get bit or stung by whatever it happens to be, and they have a massive swelling at
Carbolic
the
acid.
site of the bite. I was just talking about apis and how people can swell up really badly from and it gets very, very hot and heated, and it can look really bad. It's not typically immediately an anaphylactic response, but they can have really, really extreme and hot swelling with apis. Dr. Alex, I wanted to ask you a really quick question with regard to that. Do you see that level of swelling in VESPA? Because I haven't actually had an opportunity to use that remedy in an acute situation. Do you get the same swelling that you do from apis, where it gets really red and really hot very quickly?
Yeah.
Okay.
I do. Actually, and the other thing is that a bee will only sting you once, because after that the poor thing dies, while wasps can sting you several times, and they are much more aggressive. They get mad, and they can sting really, really badly.
Excellent, thank you. So it's good to know that apis is really where you want to go for a wasp sting versus VESPA for a bee sting. Thank you.
Yeah, and I would go high on potency as well. You know, don't go with a 12C or even a 30C. I would go with a 200. And if you have somebody that is allergic to bees or wasps, and you think that there is risk of an anaphylactic shock, well, of course, you call the emergency. That's, I mean,
yeah,
that's
number. Immediately you want to do that. Yes,
that's
call
immediately,
911 or wherever you are. Yes,
exactly. But while you can be proactive, while you are waiting for the ambulance to come, you can be giving the person, it has happened many times in the past, where I dosed the patient with apis 10M, because my patients, they have remedy kits and they know more or less what they might need in emergency conditions. And by the time that the ambulance arrived to the place, there was no more need. And the ambulance had to be sent away. So,
and there's nothing better than avoiding an ambulance ride.
Yes. So
that's great.
It's something, it's a remedy that it is a must. I like echinacea as well. Not to treat the bite, but sometimes used in alternation with whatever remedy you are using, being apis, being VESPA, being LEDUM, just in low potency to boost the immune system.
Let me just pull this up really quickly. Yeah, Echinacea is an amazing plant. It has so many healing properties, and when I was looking at the materia medica for this, just getting, there's so much around each and every remedy. And I think anybody that has started to use homeopathy, whether it's for themselves or their animals or their kids or what have you, they often think, oh, this one remedy is for only this. Like a lot of people think that apis is just for a sting or a bite or what have you. But that's definitely not the case. So as I was exploring Echinacea, it had said actually venom infection, which I thought was fascinating. And the sore, lame, and bruised feeling. And after you've been stung by something, if it's been a very aggressive sting, you can feel really wiped out, and that part of your body can just feel like it's been hit with a hammer kind of thing. And with the irritations and boosting the immune system, getting things back on track, Echinacea is amazing for that. Not just the tincture, but absolutely the remedy as well. So I'm so glad that you brought that up as far as stings go. That's great. We've only got a couple more minutes. Dr. Alex, were there any other remedies that you wanted to cover today in our chat, or shall we encourage everybody to check out our newsletter? And
I think we have to leave some space for curiosity. Yes, there are a few more remedies that you can use. In our newsletter, we cover scorpions, we cover mosquitoes, we cover many other insects, poisoning insects. So yeah.
Great.
Go ahead.
Thank you.
And
thanks for
again,
all of your wisdom, as always. So appreciate all of the cases that you share and all of your knowledge around the materia medica. I think as we all use these remedies more and more in every situation, we really get to understand the depth and capacity of homeopathy, and it's wonderful to be able to share that with all of you. So if any of you have questions or are interested in learning more about what we shared today, by all means, reach out to us. Dr. Alex and I are Homeopathy United, and I believe our contact information is on the page, but I'll share that again after the video is over. And look for our newsletter this month. It should be out in the next day or two. And if you want to have a meet and greet, we offer a free 15-minute discovery call where we will chat with you and help you understand a little bit more about what it is that we have to offer. And we treat humans and animals and pretty much everything in between, plants and all kinds of good stuff. So thanks everyone for joining us. And I'll turn it back over to Dr. Alex to say her goodbyes.
Well, thank you, Rebecca. It's always a pleasure to work with you. The remedies are beautiful, I have to say. It's fantastic. Even if you don't care about the remedies, as just to put them on your wall, you made them so beautiful. They're very decorative. Yeah, and all the best to the members and happy August.
Yeah, happy full moon, happy August, and we'll see you all next week. Ciao.
Bye-bye.